Hello again and welcome back to Dancing Lights. My name is Jaron and this is part number 3 of our beginner poi tutorial series. We're going to continue to work on all the fundamentals and foundation that we established in the first 2 videos, namely this business with the 3-beat weave, where we learned that it's just cross and uncross and that we could turn with it and we can do it in reverse because it's the same thing. We talked about these 2-petal in-spin flowers and our ability to turn with it, and we kind of left it off with there. We talked about all the fundamentals of poi spinning. For the most part, that is just having a nice relaxed posture, having some clean planes. We talked about wheel plane and wall plane. And when we're crossing the poi back and forth across our body, we don't want these big, wide sweeping X's. We want to keep it nice and tight, close to the body. That's what I mean when I say nice, clean planes. I mean keeping them nice and vertical, right? So we're going to build off of that today. And we're going to do some transitional tools, some things that can kind of help you in between moves, and just some ornamentations that I think look really neat that I use quite a bit. That being the pendulum and its older relative, the 1.5, that move right here, right? So real quick, pendulums are super easy to teach and learn. It's simply the poi head is drawing this line right in front of me, kind of at eye level or chest level maybe. And my hand is just doing what it needs to do to facilitate that. I can kind of go in this parallel motion with it, where both the hand and the poi head traced out this straight line. Or today what we're going to do is put this pendulum on top of an extension on the bottom. So you might be thinking, what does that look like? What are you talking about? Well, we're going to put this pendulum on top of this move here. Remember, this is an extension where the poi is just an extension of our arm. We're going to put a pendulum on top of that. So it kind of looks like it's drawing out a half circle. And when I do it like this, if you watch what the hand does, it's kind of bobbing up and down, right? Because what it's mimicking is this big circle here. If I were to take out the bottom part, the extension, all of a sudden my hand path looks like this. It doesn't look like this parallel line. This will become important later on when we need to have a specific timing for these pendulums, and I can't really afford to let it be nice and loose and lazy like this. So that's pendulums. We can do this with both left and right hand, obviously, but it's really useful, I wanted to point out here, for changing direction. I'm spinning in one direction now. I can pendulum and say, actually, I want to go this way. And maybe I say, oh, I actually want to go the other way again. The pendulum, and now go back the other way again, right? So they're really useful for changing direction. We can do this with both hands, sort of in parallel, where they're going same time, same direction. And I can at any point drop them down into extension, bring them back go the other way, do a full extension. Maybe I pendulum just kind of in the middle of it, or I can drop down into any of the timing and direction patterns that I already know. I can do this in wheel plane, for example. All the things that we already know. I think it'd be really useful just to play around and see what sort of patterns you can come up with just with this idea. Maybe I say I just want to do an extension on the top, or I want to do a pendulum on the top. One hand's going to drop down into an extension, and they're going to meet up on the other side. Just all sorts of stuff. Just play around with that, see what you can come up with. The next step, how do I get this movement into a 3-beat weave? How do I get this actually into the 1.5s that we talked about? And in order to understand how this fits together, let's get a little technical just for a second. Bear with me. If this is all mumbo jumbo, feel free to skip over it. It's not the end of the world. I don't really mind. But we need to look under the hood of what's actually going on in a 3-beat weave, right? Let's take a look at the left hand. And what the left hand is doing here, besides simply cross and uncross on repeat for infinity, I take a look at this and I go, well, it's doing 2 beats on the non-native side, right? And 1 beat on its native side. 1 beat on the left-hand side, 2 beats on the right. I take out the right hand. We have 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. And that's how the 3-beat weave is kind of made up. What we're going to do instead, we're going to do one beat on one side and then turn the other 2 beats into this pendulum with the extension. So what I want to do here, instead of 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, when I do this beat on my native side, namely here, I want to stall backwards. We're not going to do the beat. We're going to stall backwards, pendulum forward. Right? And when I say stall, I simply mean we're not going to do a full extension or a full beat. We're just going to let the poi head kind of stall its motion, stall its momentum out to the side here, and bring it forward. Right? So that looks like we have a beat, stall to the side, stall backwards, pendulum forward. And then here we just drop it down into a single beat on the non-native side. So where it was once 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, now it becomes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we took the 3 beats that we were doing before, we just replaced it with some different stuff, filling up the same amount of time. And that goes for both the left and the right hand. Before, with the left hand, right, we had 2 beats on the non-native, 2 beats on the native, or 1 beat on the native side. Replace that with the pendulum and a single beat. Same thing goes for the right hand. Whereas before, we have 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Now we have 1 beat over here, right? That's the non-native side. On the native side, we bring it down past our feet, stall backwards, pendulum forward, drop it down into this beat again. So just like we were before, counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 becomes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So putting that into the 3-beat weave now, replacing that, they both have 3 counts. They both take up 3 beats worth of time. So that means I can replace one side with the 1.5. I could replace the other side with the 1.5, or I can do that in both sides, right? And I want to stop here because I realize I am probably going a little fast. I just explained how it works and then all of a sudden I have it. Well, what about, how do I get from point A to point B? And I have a drill for you. Don't worry, there's a drill. So let's turn and face the camera now, face wall plane. And all I want to do here, I just want to work on the timing because this is probably the hardest part. We're just going to static spin in our right hand, or I guess for me it's my right hand. You can pick one, doesn't matter. Static spin forwards in my right hand here, kind of at belt level. This is mimicking, you know, this single beat on my non-native side. The left hand is just going to pendulum back and forth, right? And if all you get to is being able to keep a pendulum going while your other hand is doing a static spin, I would count that as a win because this took me several days just to be able to do 2 different things in one hand. If all you get to is here, count that as a W. All right, pat yourself on the back. You're way ahead of where I was when I first tried to learn a 1.5. However, if you're finding like this is not really that big of a deal, or you've worked on this a bit and you go, okay, I got this down, but what next? The target here, I want to get a very specific timing, that being that the poi heads are going to cross this middle point together. They're going to pass this point, this imaginary point right in the middle here at the same time. So when they're going forwards, it's like they are throwing something forwards together. They're coming together and they're going whoop, throwing it forwards. And when they pass back the other way, they zoom past each other, right? Throwing it forward, zoom past each other. Throwing it forward, zoom past each other. Do you remember in I don't know if it was the first or second video, but we talked about when you're spinning in split timing, your hands tend to stay in opposition, your poi heads tend to stay in opposition. This whole business here, right? Remember this drill when we said we want to keep this relationship where the poi pass each other in the middle? Well, same thing here. They are still in opposition. I still want them to cross this center point together, right? I'll give you some troubleshooting tips here. If you're finding like this timing is really hard to get down, more than likely your bottom hand's spinning too fast and your top hand's moving too slow, right? It's really easy to kind of get to here and go, wow, it's really hard to get this top hand to go faster. Maybe I just need to slow way down and this will work, but it's not really kind of what we're aiming for. Couple of tips, choke up on the poi. right? I have a limited amount of time here. I'm trying to control the speed. I don't want it to be all unwieldy and kind of out here at full extension. I normally will choke up on the poi head a little bit and sort of pinch it well above where I normally would just for this drill. And you remember at the start when I talked about when we do these pendulums, you can either have a nice parallel lines with your hands and the poi head, or you can kind of imagine it being the top of this extension, and your hand is tracing out a circle and kind of has this bob to it. I think this makes it a lot easier to control the poi head that's doing the pendulum. It's a lot easier to make this happen quicker. You have a lot more control that way. So those are two tips. Choke up on the poi, slow the bottom hand down a little bit, and kind of get this bobbing motion going. So this is the drill, is just to work on trying to find this timing. I would say do this 20 minutes a day, every day, you know, until it kind of clicks. We got to do this in both hands, both directions. So let's stop. We'll do the left hand spinning this direction now. And now I need to do a pendulum on top with my right hand. And as you can see, the timing here is not as good with my other hand. So we're gonna do some live troubleshooting now. I'm gonna slow down the bottom hand and try to get this bouncing motion going in my right hand. And immediately that makes it a little easier. Something I'm noticing too with my own spinning is my right hand has a tendency, I'm gonna face this direction. You can see what I'm talking about. My right hand has a tendency to kind of bow out like this instead of keeping it nice and tight. So that's another thing to be aware of. I think if you have that going on, it can make this a little more challenging. But that's kind of the target, is to hit it so that they're passing forwards together. And when they're moving in opposite directions, they're passing that middle point at the same time. So, resuming now, putting this back in. Let's go back to the 3-beat weave. And just like we practiced before, when our native hand, in other words, if I'm talking about the left hand, when it swings past my feet to do a beat, I'm gonna stall it back behind me, pendulum forward. Looks like this. And hopefully all that practice that we worked on with that drill, which was just this, is just part of the 1.5 that we said, we're gonna work on that specific part. Well, I can drop that back in now. 1.5, drop it back into the 3-beat weave. 1.5, drop it back into the 3-beat weave. We need to do this both forwards and backwards. So let's turn the other direction. This works exactly the same way, kind of like the 3-beat weave in reverse works exactly the same way. Where before we were doing, to get to the 1.5, we did one beat on the native side, and we kind of did something else. Sorry, one beat on the non-native side, we did something else, the pendulum, on our native side. Works exactly the same. So before we had 2 on the non-native, 1 over here on the native, right? So our reverse looked like this. Again, it's just crossing and uncrossing. But if I look at the right hand this time, it's doing 2 beats and 1 beat. 2 beats on the non-native, 1 beat on the native. Remember we said we're going to continue to do 1 beat on the non-native, and this time it's not going to be sweeping past our feet to stall it to the back. It's going to sweep past our feet to stall forwards. Stall forwards, pendulum back, back into the reverse. Remember, forwards, stall forwards, pendulum back, back into the weave. Stall forwards, pendulum back, back into the weave. Putting it together, we went stall forwards, pendulum backwards, back into the weave. Stall forwards, pendulum backwards, back into the weave. Stall forwards, pendulum backwards, back into the weave. Both with the left and the right hand. Stall forwards, pendulum backwards, back into the weave. Right, and all that business that we worked on over here now with our pendulum in our left hand should now come into play. And we can put this on loop with both hands. Right, we go right into it. or I can just go right back into the 3-beat weave in reverse, pendulum at any point. The main thing that I think I want to point out here, besides this being a cool looking move in its own right, and a move that I do quite often because it's a lot of fun and allows you to open up and do a lot of other cool stuff, is I think this is really extremely useful for opening up here, right? We're looking at this pendulum 1.5. I can use it to rotate, open up my body, 90 degrees. And doesn't this look familiar? Haven't we been here a million times already with all the business that we worked on in the first couple of videos? We're just getting there in a different way now. We just have this new trick, this new tool to get there. We open up and all of a sudden, it's all the stuff that we already know, right? 1.5, open up, we're back to business, back into what we know. I can go a forwards 1.5, open up this way, and it's the same thing. Reverse, open up the other direction, same business, right? And so now I have all sorts of tools just to kind of flow through a whole repertoire of stuff. And I think these tools are really useful. I encourage you, I'm not going to show you all the things that you could possibly do because I don't know all the things you could possibly do. I tend to kind of like throw these into just flows and see what happens. I encourage you just to play around with this. That's kind of what flowing is. You're just taking what you know and seeing what you can do with it. But I think these tricks are, these movements, these patterns, extremely useful. They're extremely useful and I think they look really neat. So just to review that, pendulums, 1.5s. 1.5s is just taking part of the 3-beat weave and replacing it with some stuff. Just replacing it with some pendulums, some super easy moves. We just need to have a specific timing with it. So play around with that. I hope you found this useful. And if I did go through this too quickly and you need some further explanation, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you find this style of teaching useful, also please let some folks know because I think this is a really unique approach to constructing a play repertoire. I think it could be really beneficial. So I thank you for sticking around this long and we'll see you in the next video, part 4.